today for is we're going to do what is called a global contextual shift. And one of the easiest ways to describe that is, let's pretend for a moment that you have a car, and this car, it won't run, and you love this car, and you've called 2 or 3 mechanics, and they've all worked on it, and they told you everything's fine, and every time you get in it, you try to start the car, it just won't run. And you've changed the motor, and you've changed the wiring, and you had it painted, and got new tires, still won't run. Finally, to the point where even though you hate to, you get rid of the car, you buy a new one, and you're sitting in your brand new car, and you turn the key, and it won't start. And that's when somebody taps you on the shoulder and says, "Did you know your car's at the bottom of the lake?" So what we're talking about here is we're talking about a context in which there's an automobile that you love, but automobiles don't run underwater. They need air. So you have to do one of 2 things. You either have to shift the car out of that context, or you have to expand the context that would include an area where there's dry land and air for the motor to breathe. And I just want to check to make sure that everybody in the room actually needs to be here. Does anyone in here have a persistent problem that you have tried to fix, and you have gone to several people, or you've read some books, or you've taken some classes, but in some way, shape, or form, this persistent problem remains? It could be a job, or the lack thereof. It could be you have been chasing dollars your whole life. It could be that you've been in multiple relationships, but you keep picking the same person. It could be health problems. It could be virtually
all of those.
Yeah, it could be virtually any of those things.
What you said times 10.
Exactly.
On steroids.
Exactly. And
have flies.
attached to
There
it.
you go.
And what I want you guys to do is I want you to consider the concept for a moment that it is not necessarily the problem that's the problem. The problem, part of what is going on is your orientation to the problem is also part of the problem. So it just occurs to me that creating a wider context in which you have more resources might give you the ability to shift into high gear and to get on with the business of what you really are interested in is getting on with your life. For example, you probably know somebody that all they've ever wanted to do is earn $1 million. But that's not really accurate. It's what they're going to do with that $1 million. It's what they're going to do with that relationship. It's what they're going to do when they are finally well. That's important. So what we're going to do is we are going to do a couple of processes during this thing, and I'm going to look at my notes. And one of the first things that I want to do, because this is an ongoing, it's an open source pattern change. This was created by a friend of mine, Jan Sager. And one of the things that I want you to think about is, how do you represent your mind? For a lot of people, they have a conscious and they have a subconscious. For some people, they have a subconscious or a conscious, a subconscious, and an unconscious. But I want you to think for a moment about how you represent your mind. Is it very linear? Is it three-dimensional? Can you be in multiple locations at different times? Because one of the things that I have noticed about this pattern is that it works really, really well for almost everybody. And with 1 or 2 people, sometimes we have to do just a little bit of cleanup, but everybody that I've done this pattern with has gotten change in their life.
Okay.